Kathleen and Walt, thanks for joining me today. We're recording and discussing and demonstrating the exercise Polarized Parts, which is a bonus exercise of the Self-Led Project. The Self-Led Project is a group coaching program that uses the Internal Family Systems Model, IFS, and these exercises are all designed to help the participant, anyone that uses these exercises, help them to develop self-leadership. And the reason that self-leadership is so important is because as self, we have access to qualities and resources that we don't have access to if our parts are running our lives for us. This exercise, Polarized Parts, will address what to do when you have parts that are polarized and influencing you in the way you think, the way that you feel, the way you react to whatever circumstance activates these polarized parts. So I'm going to read the purpose of this exercise, which is to learn how to recognize polarized parts and to help them relax so you can respond from self-leadership. Kind of a different way, I guess, of what I just said. Sometimes our parts employ strategies that conflict with the strategies and intentions of other parts. When their differences create internal conflict and confusion, the result can be overwhelming. Parts that oppose each other to this degree are referred to as polarized parts. When in a state of conflict or overwhelm, there is no room for the qualities and resources of self. If you can't unblend from the influence of these conflicted parts, you will react from the conflict rather than from self. And I'm going to read these examples, and then I'm going to pause and ask each of you if you can find yourself in any of the examples. And maybe a yes or no, but also maybe a word or two about how that has shown up in your life. So one example is a people-pleasing part and a pushing away part. I have one part that wants to people please and another part that wants to push others away. Can you relate to that one? To that polarized pair? I know I can relate to the people-pleasing.
Yeah, I can relate to the people-pleasing. I'm not sure about the pushing. Tell more what the pushing away.
Well, let's just say that I've got someone that calls me up and says, "Hey, Bill, I'll be in town next Friday and would sure like a ride in from the airport." Well, I want this person to like me, so that part wants me to go pick them up at the airport. There's another part that says, "Gosh, last time I was in town where they live, they were too busy for me. And gosh, I don't know that I want to accommodate them. Plus, I'm kind of busy. I'm going to have to cancel and move things around. So I've got this push and pull inside."
Mm-hmm.
That's an example. That's not a real life so much, but
yeah.
Either of you don't feel like you have to generate anything, but does anything come to mind for either one of you?
Well, it's not particularly a brand new one, but one that has happened on more than one occasion would be when somebody has called me up and invited me to be a speaker at a certain event, and I really didn't want to do it. But at the same time, I didn't want to be in their bad favor.
Mm-hmm.
And so I began with a long line of excuses why I could not,
Mm-hmm.
which opened the avenue for the person making the request to say, "Oh, well, we could do that, and then that wouldn't be a problem." So anything I presented as a legit reason why I didn't want to do it, she counteracted with why I could do it. And the conversation ended up with her comment, "I didn't think you were so selfish, Kathleen."
Right. Yeah, that's a great example. And so as I was listening, I thought, I wonder how self would have reacted. If it hadn't been a conflict between these two polarized parts, what might have you done differently from self-leadership rather than from the conflict of these polarized parts?
Well, I don't know if it's very dramatic or not, but I do think two things. I would have thanked her for the invitation and that I was happy that she thought of me. And simply give a simple, direct answer. I would not be able to do that right now because of conflicts in my schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever those conflicts
Mm-hmm.
would be my business and not hers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so rather than give her a lot of reasons that she could fix that I could do it,
Mm-hmm.
just be pretty direct.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
think if she would have pushed back a second time, I would have been able just calmly say, thanks again for asking, but no, I won't be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Now, little sidebar here makes me wonder, I won't be able to because of conflicts in my schedule, and still invites me, if I'm her, to say, well, what about next Friday?
Yeah. So
What about next month?
yeah. Yeah, which you're right. That opens it up. So then I would be faced with, it's just not something I can work into my schedule in the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if that's true, that's authentic, then that's probably coming from self-leadership. But
Yeah.
but it also could still be coming from a people pleaser part that's trying
Oh,
to
yeah.
soften the
Yeah.
blow to her, right?
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
So maybe self, I don't mean to correct you. This isn't a correcting. It's just a suggestion of what it might feel like and look like from self would be, thank you for asking. I'm honored, and no,
Mm-hmm.
I prefer not to. Oh, no, listen, I'm really not wanting to negotiate with you. I just really don't want to do this. But thanks for asking. Really
Yeah.
clear. And then
Yeah.
there's people that may not be able to accept that, but still you're within integrity within yourself. By the way, integrity, I heard a definition one time that I just love, which is integrity is when our thoughts, our words, and our actions all line up and match.
Mm-hmm.
And we feel
Right.
it. Isn't it interesting that we actually feel it when our thoughts, words, and actions are out of alignment?
Yeah.
We don't have to look very far to know that. Here's another.
Yeah, I this would be a little variation maybe on what you just said, Bill. I do remember me having someone made a one-on-one request for me. They wanted something from me. And I said, thank you so much for asking. I appreciate you thinking of me. It's not something I do anymore. So I will be glad to help you find a new resource if you need to.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that would be more from self, right?
It sure feels like it. As I
Yeah.
listen to you, I can actually feel your integrity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's clear. That's clearer. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's look at the second example, a financially prudent part and a spending part. Can we relate to that one?
Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then here's a third example, a part that uses addictions to distract and a part that sees addiction as a weakness.
I have an example of that right now.
All right.
For some reason, there's a part of my body in my leg that either has a pinched nerve or something, and I'm having big time pain from it. And I want relief, but I don't want to be on a drug.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've been having a battle for 2 days. Do I call for relief? Do I just sit and say it'll go away?
Mm-hmm. And so that's not especially an exact reflection of this example, but it is very close because it may or may not have to do with addiction. Maybe it is you have a personal preference not to do any drugs for whatever reason.
Right.
And you've got pain and you suspect that a drug would help.
Right. It would.
Strongly suspect. So there's that inner conflict.
I'm weakening by the day.
Right.
Yeah.
Walt, does anything come to mind for you without having to generate something from nothing? Does it already come to mind?
Well, I have I don't have anything really to report on those. I've got something different in terms of that exercise, but
okay.
So that was recent just a couple days ago, and I just wrote about it.
Okay, so you've written about it and you'll use this to answer the step.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's get into it then. Last example is an approval seeking part and a part that hurts others when attempting to be funny.
Mm.
And I'm this certainly I have these parts. I want people to like me. Well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I've
got that one. Yeah.
Then I just kept my mouth shut.
Right. Why don't we have a rewind button? Why can't we just do that? That would be so much better.
Yeah.
All right. So take the following steps to recognize polarizations. So if you're watching this video and you want to participate and recognize your own polarizations, take these steps. Here we go. Step 1, think of a situation when you were highly conflicted. In other words, you felt emotional and found it difficult to make a clear decision or to remain calm. The more recent, the better. And here's an example. And then I'll ask you to, if you're willing, to share your examples. For example, George's wife, Anne, wanted him to go to a play with him on Sunday afternoon when his favorite football team was playing an important game. Okay. So that's the situation for poor old George. Anne probably had her own stuff going on, but that was George's. How about for you two? What's an example for you?
Well, for me, I'm taking, just signed up for a course. I'll be specific, a songwriting course. And we have an opportunity to post, to introduce ourselves to the particular group. That it's a large organization. And so we're all working on different things and different people. Anyhow, they asked us to, somebody asked me to respond to how the exercise, the writing exercise was for me. And I started writing down, oh, wow, it really came easy to me, and some other things that I just found. I love this stuff because it's kind of my natural, how I've been. I'm just delighted here. And I put that on there. And then I realized after the fact, you dummy, you're trying to brag, you're trying to brag about a gift that been given, and what are people going to think of you? And I thought, oh, damn. And I didn't know how to undo it. And I found out later that a couple of days later that there was a way to go in and edit your comment out. Normally you can't do that.
There is a rewind button.
There was a rewind button. So guess what? I went in there and took those couple of pieces out because I didn't want to look like a braggart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's something special with me,
Great example. And so you've already done this exercise. You used that as your example going through.
Yeah.
Okay, this is going to be great. Awesome. Kathleen, do you have one in mind?
Nothing striking me other than the pain medication one.
Well, that'll work. Let's go with that. Okay. So step 2, describe the internal conflict. So we've described the circumstance, and to a large degree, Walt, I think you've already described your internal conflict as well.
Yeah.
Kathleen, how about you? What was your internal conflict? Do you feel like you've described it already?
Yeah, I think so. I just don't want to be on a drug, and I don't like taking those things into my body for a variety of reasons. And I think I should be strong and just be able to grit my teeth and get through this and not be a baby about it. So I have a self-criticism going on.
Now, for both of you, you just said it in common street language that anybody would understand. But for the IFS crowd, where we're trying to get curious about our parts, how might you describe that internal conflict, speaking for parts?
Well, for me, there's a genuine part that wants to be authentic and transparent and has the right to be. And then there's this critical parent voice, critical part that just wants me, that just gets on my case for being over the top, overly exposing myself, like, shut up.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the effect is that the part that's being criticized, that wants to be genuine and authentic and playful, gets exiled.
Yeah. Yep. In other words, you've already identified that the most dominant of these two parts is the critic. Yeah. Kathleen, how would you describe the internal conflict, speaking for parts?
I have a part of me that's in a lot of pain and is feeling very sorry for itself and scared and vulnerable because I'm not sure of the source of the pain. I'm just taking a wild guess. There's another part of me that says, all right, be intellectual, be rational, make a phone call to a doctor, get the pain under control, and then make, quote, rational decisions around that. Then there's a third part that's embarrassed that I'm struggling with this. I'm just not tougher skinned. And don't I know there are other people that have worse things they're going through? And then there's a part of me that doesn't want people to see that this is really slowing me down, like my ability to walk, because my leg is pulsating.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a part of me that didn't want to talk about this on a recording. And make it, so to speak, public.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I heard 5 parts.
Okay.
And I don't address more than 2 parts in the exercise. And I wonder if you had to narrow it down to the 2 camps, how would you characterize that? The parts.
The first camp is just grin and bear it, buckle up. There's worse things. It'll pass. Kind of a manager, intellectual, controlling part. And then there's a part that's kind of whimpering in pain that feels scared and what the heck is going on now?
Mm-hmm.
Just get some relief.
So everything beyond those 2 parts, really, I asked for camps, like could we group these parts together? And you identified the core parts that these other parts are reacting to and supporting.
Okay, yeah. I can see that, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a cheerleader and a victim kind of colliding too.
Right. It's kind of like saying we've got a North Pole and a South Pole.
Yeah.
And Alaska is more North Polish and Brazil is more South Polish.
Yeah.
That's probably a bad way to say it, but I mean, you get.
Yeah.
Let's look at the example in the exercise. Describe the internal conflict. For example, George felt like he should go make his wife happy and to prevent her from being upset with him, but he go to the play. But he also didn't want to miss watching the game. When he considered saying yes to the play, felt upset about missing the game. When he considered saying no to the play and staying home to watch the game, he worried about how Anne would react and was afraid she would be upset with him. Mm-hmm. And then if we were to ask George to identify and speak for the parts in step 3, one part wants to stay and watch the game, one part wants to please Anne and go to the play. Mm-hmm. It really narrows it down and simplifies it. Okay, so we've just completed steps 1, 2, and 3. And I hold my hand fingers that way because it's hard for me to get myself. Often the opposing parts find they are both trying to accomplish the same result, such as protecting the same burdened exile. By spending time with each of them and getting to know them, they may begin to relax and allow you to lead from self. This is why we want to get it narrowed down to the 2 main actors representing the polarization. Mm. All right, so step 4. And let's just go ahead and do this as we go, as I go to each part of the step. I'm going to ask you both how you answer this. So A, ask both parts to relax in turn to allow you to hear from the opposing part without interruption. And I assume, Walt, that you did this when you did your exercise. Yes. And I'm going to ask you just to do that now, Kathleen, just to ask all parts that are involved here to relax in turn and to allow the opposing part to be heard from without interruption. And part, the sub A under the A here is consider reviewing the questions you will be asking so that both parts understand what you are proposing. So Walt's already done this for your benefit, Kathleen, and I know you've reviewed the exercise. Here's the questions we're going to be asking each of the parts. If either part refuses to relax long enough to allow this, ask, what is the part concerned about? Offer reassurance or accommodate the concern if you can. If you can't, start with that part that can't relax. If both parts agree and if both parts agree to allow you to spend time with the opposing part, just pick the one you are drawn to, that you have the most curiosity about, or the one that seems to want to be heard from first. Once you have a part to start with, ask the following questions. Here they are. What is important to you about the position that you hold on this, essentially, about fill in the blank? For example, going to the play or watching the game. What's important to you about it? B, what are you afraid, worried, or concerned about if I don't do as you wish? George, let's say I'm George. If I, George, don't do what you, the part of me that wants me to go to the game, wants me to, what are you afraid is going to happen? C, what do you need regardless of what I decide? And then D, if I can address your concerns and meet your needs, would you be able to relax? So those are the questions they're going to be asked.
Okay.
Now, since you've already answered the question, Walt, I'm going to want to hear what your answers were, but let me just do this live with Kathleen now, okay?
Sure.
All right. Kathleen, you good with that?
Sure.
All right. So considering, all right, so B, if either part refuses, does either part refuse to relax?
No, they're both okay with that.
So I'm going to jump to C. Which part are you the most drawn to, or that you have the most curiosity about, or that seems to want to be heard from first?
The loudest part is the one that wants to get rid of the pain.
Okay.
Oh, the focus of attention is getting rid of the pain.
Got it. Okay. So would you ask that part what's important about getting rid of the pain?
The important is because I can't breathe when I'm in pain. I'm so focused on that I'm shutting out everything else in my environment. So I have a fear that the pain is an overriding, uncontrollable monster.
All right. So you've answered the next question. This part is afraid, worried, or concerned that the pain is overwhelming, bigger than you are a monster.
Yeah.
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 And then the next question is, what does this part need regardless of what you decide about what to do about this pain?
I think it needs some reassurance that it's okay to take narcotic medicine to deal with the pain until you can figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it needs, in fact, more than, I think it needs encouragement just to do that.
That sounds like you were hearing from the other polarized part.
Yeah.
So let's ask that part if it can relax just a minute or more, because we're going to go back to that part in just a
Okay. Okay.
So remember now, the part that we're wanting to hear from
Pain.
now is the part that's all about let's get rid of the pain.
Yeah.
So what does that part need? The part that wants you to
that part needs relief.
Relief. There it is. That's what the part needs. So ask the part if you could address that concern, that it needs relief. If you could help it get relief, would that part be able to relax?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, great. Great. So Kathleen, now let's go to the other part. The first part was the one that just wants to relieve the pain.
Right.
And what we heard from that part was that if you can figure out a way, no matter what way that is, of helping to relieve the pain, then the part can relax.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go to the part that doesn't want to use drugs for that.
Yeah.
Is that it? Did I get it right?
Yeah, right.
What is important to this part about not using drugs?
This part wishes there would be another alternative besides drugs, although it doesn't have an answer.
Got it. So what is this part afraid, worried, or concerned about if you can't find another solution besides drugs?
Well, let's see. What is it worried about? It's worried about that the pain will not cease. And that's really interesting. I'm not sure it's worried about being addicted to it, although that's a possibility, I guess, like a trigger. But it sees it as a weakening, a lack of character or something.
Mm-hmm. So what the part is worried or concerned about, if you can't find a solution other than drugs, is that it reflects a lack of character in you.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. That I'm not strong and
Yes.
muscling my way through it. Yep. Exactly.
By the way,
It's an image issue. Yeah.
right. So let me just point out that I just reflected what I heard from you.
Yes.
I didn't give you the answer there.
Right.
Okay. And what does this part then need, regardless of what you decide to do about your pain?
Actually, I don't know how to say this. It just helped that it realized that it was struggling with an image question and nothing else. Or, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That in itself, that insight in itself just said, all right, just get over it. Kind of. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And so if you can address the concern about the image, would this part be able to relax?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, I'm gonna stay with Kathleen because
fine.
really, yeah. Step 5 here is if both parts have agreed that they can relax if you address their concerns and meet their needs, take some time to find ways to do this. So let's go to the first part. And I wasn't taking notes, but help me remember. What was it the first part needed to have addressed?
The relief.
Relief. So if you can provide relief in any way, this part is able and willing to relax.
Yeah.
How would you like to address that concern?
Well, yeah, I think by reassuring that part that it's okay to have a temporary solution that isn't going to be a long-term fixture in my life.
Here's what I just now heard.
Okay.
That the way to address the concerns of the part that is concerned about you using drugs to alleviate the pain is to reassure. I'm sorry. Let me back that up. The way to offer and address the needs of the part that just wants the relief is to comfort, reassure the part that is concerned about the drugs.
Yes, and that it's not a permanent fixture in my life.
So let's go to that part now, the one that's concerned about doing drugs and now realizes that what that's about is that it might reflect something about your character.
You're right.
How would you like to address that part?
Well, that part needs to know that, or at least in talking with you out loud, is starting to see that addressing a solution to a problem so that you have the ability to breathe and get perspective about it is different than just choosing than just saying to yourself, if I go down this road, I'm going to be an addict. So it's that creating a space. I guess that part is starting to see that creating a space that minimizes physical discomfort enough to let you make other choices or seek other solutions is okay.
And you're noticing that the part is actually relaxing into that as
yeah.
Okay. Now that part has relaxed, check with the other part. Have we found a solution that satisfies both parts?
Yes, I'm going to make a phone call when we're off this conference.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to just take a practical step and get this manageable and then make some other choices around that.
Do you need to make that phone call right now?
No, I'll do it before we.
Okay.
No.
All right. I would be okay with that if that's what
Yeah. Okay. No, it's okay.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Let
me just read the last piece and then I'm going to go to Walt and get his example.
Okay.
Step 5 was if both parts have agreed that they can relax if you address their concerns and meet their needs, take some time to find ways to do this. You did that. Interestingly, you did that just by hearing from both parts. It became clear what it was you needed to do.
Right. But I think that don't discount the important part is that when you say it back to me, that was only when I could hear it. I couldn't hear it when it was doing heads on in my noggin here.
Well, I think we're going to find when I haven't heard Walt's story yet. We're going to in just a moment.
Yeah.
But I think that it might have something more to do with getting it out in front of you and having it reflected back, and that maybe even writing it down would have the same effect.
Could be. Yeah.
I don't want to discount what a great coach I am, but I really think it's your wisdom and your self-leadership that gave you the solution. I really do.
Yeah, or even Bill, I think sometimes the alternative of saying, I have World War III going on in my head. Can you help me sort it out?
Yeah.
To a trusted friend. I think those avenues. Yeah.
Right. Without giving advice, without giving an opinion. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
The last paragraph is if either part refuses to relax, regardless of your intention and efforts to help them, recognize that you will need to spend more time with them.
Okay.
There's these 5 P's that I keep right in front of me having to do with the internal family systems model: presence, patience, perspective, persistence, and playfulness. Yeah. I think we need most of those in order to really get through what appears to be a problem that our parts are just Velcroed to and won't let go of, and which is why we need to really be present, why we really need to be persistent as well, so that we can offer them the perspective from self, which would require us to be patient and all of our other parts to be patient and allow the process to unfold. And if we can, we might even want to be playful with it. And I think we were a little bit there.
Yeah. Maybe before you leave, then that'll be my last comment. Sometimes I think that the Velcro is unyielding. And maybe what your experience, maybe you just address that and say, just to respect that and say, I'll come back to you tomorrow, or some other practical ways of dealing with the Velcro. Here's the last sentence in that paragraph. Oh, okay. Addresses exactly that. If this is the case, if either one of them are unable to, how did I say it? Relax. If either one of these parts are unable to relax, either ask someone who is trained in the IFS model to help you get to know the part better, or refer to one of the other self-led project exercises that are designed to go deeper. Spend more time with the part. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Kathleen. What a great example. And I just love that it was fresh and live and that you just did it from scratch. Yeah. Thank you. And thanks for the help. And Walt, I love that you did this in advance and can help us to understand your process and how it worked for you. So I'm going to go back to step 4. Remember, we're coming off of step 3, which is that you've identified the parts at play here, the polarized parts. And would you remind me, those 2 parts are what?
There's the one, the part that wants to be authentic and transparent and genuine. And then there's the other part that's critical parent, the critical voice. That what's wrong with you? You're braggart. You shouldn't tell people this comes easy to you. You know.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't need to share everything. All the it's almost like family laundry. I don't.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we've got these 2 parts. We've got the critic that doesn't want you to express your joy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other part, you said it just now, but would you say it again?
Well, the part, the critical part?
The critical part, but the part that it's polarized with is
it's the part that wants to be genuine and authentic and transparent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gosh, my hesitation on this is a little bit is I'm wondering if that part that wants to be authentic and genuine is a part, or if they're self. Let's do the exercise and see.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Let me read the paragraph that precedes step 4 so we can kind of set this up and warm us up to it again. Mm-hmm. Often the opposing parts find, there's the answer right now. Does it feel like these 2 parts are opposed to each other, with each other?
Well, yeah.
A part that wants to be authentic and a part that wants you to shut up and be critic.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that they're opposed with each other would indicate that it's not self in a part, but two parts. Because self is not going to oppose a part.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Often the opposing parts find that they are both trying to accomplish the same result as protecting the same burdened exile. Interesting. I'm wondering if Kathleen's polarized parts were protecting the same exile. We might have to ask her that when we finish with you. By spending time with each of them and getting to know them, they may begin to relax and allow you to lead from self, which they did with Kathleen. Isn't that great? All right. Step 4. Here's the first questions. What did you find? Were both parts willing right up front to relax and allow you to hear from the others?
Yeah.
No problem with that. Great.
No. And this is an after the fact that I actually went in and took that couple of sentences out. On the website, the comments that I said, this comes easy to me. I feel like a net. I didn't say I feel like a natural, but I wanted to. Yeah.
You did this exercise after hitting the rewind button.
Just after hitting,
yeah.
And if I hadn't had that rewind button, I was.
You were already meeting the concerns of one of those parts, but you were still feeling conflicted.
Self was trying to find a way. I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
it could be a different part. You were out part.
Somehow you were influenced to do something to bring relief for the most upset part, the most concerned part.
Yes.
Yeah, and with the exploration, if it was important to do so, we could find out who in your system, whether it was you as self or another part, that influenced you to make this different, so that the part that was the most concerned could relax a little bit.
Yeah.
So let's see what else we can learn. B is if either part refuses to relax long enough to allow that conversation, well, that wasn't necessary. But it may have been necessary if you hadn't already remediated a bit.
Oh, yeah. This would have lasted. Yeah. I would have lost a lot of sleep.
So this is a really valid thing to pay attention to here, is that it doesn't matter whether it's self or a part. If parts are so activated that you can bring some sort of a solution so that you can relax, then self can emerge a little bit more and bring in even more clarity and wisdom into the situation, right?
Yeah. I think in the situation, I was starting to get frantic. I couldn't shut off that critical voice. And I suspect, this is a retrospect along your line, is I think self was thinking, hey, let's ask and see if there's a way that we can re-edit that. I really didn't believe there was a choice, but I somehow got them to relax. Let me take a look. And I think that was self.
I love that. I get this image of you with a couple of children. Okay, just give me a
couple of children.
Yeah, right. All right. C, both parts have agreed to allow you to spend time with each other, with the opposing parts. So which one did you pick to go with first?
The one I'm most compassionate about is the part that wants to be authentic and genuine.
So you started with that part?
I started with that part.
Okay. And so when you asked what was important to this part about you being genuine, what did you get?
I got the feeling, and by the way, I think I mentioned in the beginning of the recording, I did this exercise about a half hour ago, just in reflecting on that situation.
Yeah.
But I think it was that, am I going to be, this is from the authentic, the part that wants to be authentic. Am I going to be cooped up and criticized like this for the rest of my life? Yeah. Can't it be me? Yeah.
Yeah. The plight, the dilemma of an exile. Am I always going to have to suffer?
Yeah.
Essentially, right?
Yeah. All
right. Well, the next question, what was this part afraid, worried, or concerned about if you weren't able somehow to figure out how to allow the part to be authentic?
Much like Kathleen, there would be no relief.
No relief. And what did when you asked this part what they needed, regardless of what you decided about how to deal with the situation, what did you learn?
It needed intervention.
And you had already provided the intervention by then, so it had already gotten its need met?
Yeah. So it's basic. That part is basically asking self, are you going to be there for me when I'm in this kind of situation again?
And you demonstrated in this situation that you will be,
Mm-hmm.
that you can be at least. Its concern now is, will you in the future?
Yeah.
When I, the exile, get activated again, will you be there for me the way I needed you to be there for me and the way you were there for me today?
Mm-hmm.
Nice, nice. All right. So D, if you can address the concerns and meet the needs of your part, would they be able to relax? Well, that was already demonstrated. They relaxed immediately as soon as you met the need. Let's pull that comment down.
Yeah.
But now we have a problem. This is really interesting. So you pulled their authentic comment down and they were relieved. And they want you to be authentic.
And they weren't relieved that I pulled it off, but they were relieved that it got the relief from the critical.
Just like Kathleen's, when you deal with the other polarized part, they felt relief. Even interesting. So it's so important to this part that you be authentic. But what's even more important is the pain of being criticized.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Okay, let's go back. Let's go now to the other part. When you ask the critic, what's important to you about shutting down this authentic version of yourself, what did you learn?
It's tired of being shamed.
Ah, got it. And that's what this part's afraid will happen. If it doesn't shut down your authenticity, you will be shamed.
And in this case, permanently. Look what you got yourself into now.
Right. Yeah. It's going to be on the internet forever.
And everybody's going to look at this self-centered songwriter Walt that thinks he's God's gift.
Right.
It comes naturally.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so what does this part need? The question is, what do you need regardless of what I decide? The question is posed from you as self to the part that wants to shut down authenticity. So what does that part need regardless of what you as self decide?
It needs assurance that that what self is there for it to understand its concern, to come up with some options and check in and see if it's okay with this critical point. So I guess what I did intuitively.
Can I interrupt a minute?
Sure. Yeah.
What I heard for an answer there was a strategy, and I'm guessing that that's not coming from the part. I don't need to be right about that.
Sure. I don't know.
It also might be coming from the part, but it doesn't really address what it needs. It's telling you how to give it what it needs, but it never does tell you what the part needs.
That's right.
What does the part?
I think that the critical part feels that it would never need to take action if we didn't do something that would cause us shame.
Right. There it is. Yep. You can feel that, can't you?
Yeah.
What it wants you to, the need is to be reassured that you will no longer be shamed.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So when you checked with the part to ask, if I can address your concerns and meet your needs, did the part indicate they'd be willing and able to relax?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So now we're on to step 5.
Okay.
Both parts have agreed to relax if you can address their concerns and meet their needs. And just for review, the part that wants you to be authentic, but also doesn't want to be criticized, I'm not sure if I'm clear on what it was that they needed, regardless of what you decided to do about this.
Well, they needed an interventionist
To do what?
To hear them. And
they just needed to be heard.
They just need to be heard and understood. And I think so.
And what is it that they want to be witnessed, heard, understood?
Well, the authentic part wants to not have to be bottled up for the rest of its life.
Oh, just freedom of expression.
Yeah, freedom of expression.
Part wants freedom of expression. So
yes, without being censored.
How would you like to address that need?
To be there for it, to always be checking in. If I and I think I was trying to be very careful how I wrote this so I wouldn't come across, and yet I wanted to be authentic and put that. And it just came really naturally to me. Now, and I left that in. I didn't realize, until after the fact. Then that critical voice started, do you realize what you just wrote? I don't know if this is making sense, but
it is. Here, let me tell you how it's making sense to me. But I want to make sure that, number one, that I'm getting what you're saying, but number two, that it really addresses the needs, the concerns, and how you're going to address those needs and concerns of this part that wants you to wants freedom of expression, right?
Yes.
What you're saying is that when you wrote and then later took out, but when you initially wrote, I love this. This comes easy to me.
Mm-hmm.
That was the freedom of expression that this part really wanted.
Yes.
But when the critic came in with fear that you were about to set yourself up to be shamed and influenced you to pull it back out again, then the part that wants you to be authentic and wants that freedom of expression didn't get that need met, but also maybe equal to that need is the concern about being shamed.
Yeah.
In other words, both parts want to avoid being shamed.
Yeah.
There's that common exile, by the way. But one part wants freedom of expression. The other one just wants to avoid being shamed. Not to minimize that, but see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. So what are we going to do about the freedom of expression? I hear the part wants you to be there. Are you saying that if you can be there for this part and witness their freedom of expression, that's all they need, no matter whether the rest of the world hears from them or not?
I'm not sure about that. I think
let's have you check in right now.
Okay.
Check with the part. And I'm going to ask and just have you hear from the part fresh, as if it's hearing the question for the first time.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah. The question is, first of all, let's establish the need that this part would like to have addressed is some way for the part to feel that it has the freedom, that they have the freedom to express themselves authentically.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yes, it is.
So that's the need. We'll stay in there with the part and consider this then, Walt. How would this part like that need addressed? They may not know, but let's see if they have an idea.
Even just journaling about it would accomplish the need to be able to express that it came naturally.
Okay.
I think I was writing that down on my little journal while I was working, while I was writing this stuff, the songs and stuff. And yet I think there's another unspoken need that it doesn't feel that it needs to be slapped and bottled up if it shares this joy publicly.
Uh-huh. Okay.
The publicly is I think was the part that shamed, because if it's just in a journal, nobody's
Right.
going to see that.
All right. So the part is going to get some satisfaction out of having you just journal the inspiration that comes from that part that wants to freely express itself. But that is only witnessed by you.
Yeah.
This part also wants to be witnessed publicly and safely without being criticized. It doesn't sound like the part's concerned as much about being criticized externally as it is being criticized internally by this critic.
That's it.
Okay. So
it just tears it up.
Check with the part. If you can address the critic and and help the critic to not criticize this authentic part, will it be able to relax?
Will the authentic part be able to relax?
Right. If they know that you've addressed the critic and garnered an agreement that they will no longer criticize the authentic part.
Because that's its enemy. It's not, the enemy is not the public, it's the enemy of the critic.
There we are, polarized parts. That's what it feels like. So now shift over to the critic. We already understand that the critic doesn't want a part in you to be shamed, doesn't want you to be shamed.
Yeah.
And we haven't gotten so deep that we know who the critic thinks you are. We don't know that yet. And so that may be work that you need to go. You might need to go deeper with this critic in order for them to really understand that they don't need to shame you in order to protect you from being shamed.
Yeah. This part is the part that it thinks I am is really young. Yeah.
The part thinks that the critic thinks that you're really young.
Yeah.
And is trying to protect you from being shamed.
5-year-old, 7-year-old.
So ask the critic now, what would they need in order to be able to relax?
I guess they would need me, from what I'm sensing, they would need me to work with it, to make sure I check with it before I go out and embarrass myself.
Mm-hmm. Ultimately, if you check with it, if you work with the critic, what would have been accomplished that would allow them to relax?
I would have left that part that I deleted. If I had left that out, I wouldn't have had that critic. It was just factual. It wasn't getting into any.
That's still putting out brush fires, though.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Ultimately, this part has a concern, and let me just see if I can help clarify it a little bit. And this is maybe goes to that last half of the step 5 is that if the part's not able to relax, and that's where we're at right now, the part can't relax as long as this exile, which the part believes is you, a young part of you, which the part sees as you, is vulnerable to shame. The part's going to continue to do its job. Parts will not change unless it makes sense for them to do so. So check with the part. If somehow it made sense to stop shaming the authentic part, if somehow you are no longer vulnerable to being shamed, would the part be able to relax?
Oh, yes, it would.
There we go. Okay. So now, Walt, how can you go about helping the part that's vulnerable to shame?
The word that comes to me, but I don't know if it's accurate, is it needs some kind of a moderator part that would be there. And that maybe that's true. Maybe that's the self.
Let me offer this and see how it lands for the parts.
Okay.
If you could get some help from, let's say, an IFS trained practitioner or therapist to go in and help this young part that's being protected, the young vulnerable part that's vulnerable to being shamed, that gets so hurt when you are shamed, to unburden from the meaning making associated with being shamed, with the impact of being shamed, somehow unburden and update the part, and then offer it the kind of reassurance and support that it needs so that it can shift out of that wherever it's stuck in the past. That would require witnessing, probably retrieving into the present moment. It would require understanding what the part made whatever happened back then mean, the beliefs that were formed around it. It's going to be a slow, gradual process that's not going to be captured within a 15 or 30-minute conversation. It may take a few sessions of either be just with you and the part or you with the practitioner. But if that part could be just unburdened and then no longer hurt by shaming remarks that others might make, or no longer be concerned about that, then this part that's protecting them could just relax because they wouldn't need to do it anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so we've seen. Thank you, Walt. We've seen a couple things here. One, Kathleen was able to address her immediate challenge and the polarized parts around it just by getting clear about what it means to take a pain medication and what it doesn't mean. Walt, yours is a little more complicated in that it goes to an exiled part that needs to be unburdened before one of the activated parts in this situation can relax. It's going to take deeper work, not just a quick resolution like the one that Kathleen found. In the meantime, the quick resolution that you found to lower the temperature a little bit on the conflict relaxed you enough to be able to do this work even without my help before you came on to record this exercise video.
Yes.
And you found relief already, and that puts you in a position to be able to actually hear and have your parts hear that there's more of a solution that's more permanent, and that is to work with this exiled part. Yeah. Okay. Takeaways. How was this exercise for the two of you, and what are you taking away from this conversation? Kathleen, do you mind if I start with you?
Well, the thing that always occurs is it's clarifying that, the jumble that runs around in my brain, taking it outside of my brain and having a look at it, and even identifying the parts that are the players in the situation, and trying to look at them and understand them and give them the respect of the good they're attempting to do. That process in itself is always helpful to me and meaningful, even if it leads to different things, like when you were working with Walt, to see that exiled part has a lot of pain that needs attention, and to recognize that this session isn't going to be the place that does that. But now he has clarity about where his bowling alley is, so to speak.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kathleen. What are you taking away from this, Walt?
For me, what it was a wonderful exercise. Having thought that I really that clarity on my own, right, just a half hour before our meeting here, I also learned that I wasn't so clear that the shaming part was actually a protector. I mean, I know it's a protector up here, but it has the best what it thinks is the best interest, and I hadn't gotten that on my own. So it thinks it has the best interest of this exiled part. It's really a protector, not just a ridiculer.
Yeah,
it wasn't ridiculing. I guess I hadn't thought about it quite that deeply, but
it's pretty complex, really.
Mm-hmm.
Which is amazing that these parts take on their extreme roles, many of them when you're very young.
Yeah.
And given the limited resources that they have, it demonstrates just how brilliant we were as children, that we were able to navigate and survive situations that were so scary and painful. And those same parts of us that took on those extreme roles are reflecting the limited resources that they had to work with, and showing up and making us react under their influence as children in our current adult lives.
Yeah.
And now that makes sense, doesn't it? Stop acting like a child. Well, I will as soon as I unburden this child that's influencing me to react this way. Mm-hmm. Or I will as soon as I can figure out a way to pause long enough to go inside where I meet my parts and reassure them that I'm here, and remind them that I'm here, and that there's more than just them to deal with this current adult situation that they are reacting to and influence me to act like a child. So thanks for the suggestion. I'll stop acting like a child as soon as I can pause long enough to connect with my children.
Wonderful.
Yeah.